systems engineer, all these ISE majors, no offense to ISE, they get all excited and they're like, oh, I can do this too. And I'm like, no, you have to have electrical engineering background. It's a satellite and it's wireless communication. So it's a little different from the ISE major that exists here. But basically, as a systems engineer, for those that don't know, it's a pretty new field. It's the glue that connects all these different disciplines, like your design engineers, your test engineers, and you basically have to be able to, like Rachel was saying, you need to be able to talk to software engineers in their language. You need to talk to the customer. So we are directly working with our customers. Well, Aerospace Corporation and Lockheed are our customers, so you have to, again, wear different hats and know how to communicate with the very technical people and maybe the less technical people, with your directors. So going back to your question, I feel like in meetings as a systems engineer, it's really cool because you have like your design engineers that are on a mission to like make the best unit that's like low cost and like schedule friendly but like highly efficient, whatever. But if their unit works by itself, that's great for them, but it may not necessarily work with the other units on the system. So it's really cool to have that like overhead perspective of, okay, I understand how everything works together and that's not going to work or whatever. But it's also at the same time kind of overwhelming. Instead of being like, oh yeah, with this much money we can't get the job done, it's more like we have so much to get done and you're just dealing with the whole system and you know that like there's terminals and then there's the bus and everything just has to work together. So I would say it's just a very unique position. It's not just this like tunnel vision, like I need to design my chip and then it will go onto like a board or whatever. It is really cool to see like the whole satellite integrated together. I don't know if that really answered your question.
Yeah, kind of, and that's why I kind of wanted to ask even the same question since when you're working at a startup, you getting to see it and helping the company grow.
Yeah.
To me, did that seem like, hey, this wasn't going to be as bad as I thought, like saying starting, or not, maybe not starting the company, being involved in a company that's just starting and helping it grow?
Honestly, at least in my particular company, the electrical engineering is far from the most difficult part. In fact, the electrical engineering is probably the most straightforward part. It's the only part that can be solved with equations, and it's the only part where you can definitely be right or definitely be wrong. You had some, your question was like, is it easy? No, it's not easy. But your question is like, would it be easy if you had billions of dollars and competent employees? I don't know. We have like no money and 4 employees. I think to be straight with you, the electrical engineering, we talked about this earlier, you're not going to learn everything you need to know in school, but it's a field where you can continue to learn and where the lessons can pretty easily be taught from a more senior engineer to a newer engineer. And it's pretty clear when you know it or when you don't. You'll know, they'll know, everybody's good. Having a competent workforce, having a motivated workforce, having different people's priorities aligned, keeping things on time and on schedule and on budget and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I just didn't study the right classes, but like that stuff, in my experience, is way more taxing and way more difficult.
Thank you.
Okay, we're actually a little out of time. Well, it's already 8:03, so just one last question that someone could ask for that applies to everyone. Do you have a question? Yeah.
So a lot of you have master degrees in EE, so I'm just wondering, like, why did you choose to pursue a master degree, and how did that help you in your career?
So when I decided to pursue a master's, I had the trustee scholarship. So, and I hadn't yet hit my 4 years. I had been at USC, was done with my undergraduate classes in 3.5. And so for me to do at the time it was, I don't know, 4+1 or whatever. It was not called what it is now, but it's the same, essentially the same program. It was a great opportunity to basically use another semester of my scholarship to get a master's degree. And it opened up a lot of doors as far as companies that were looking to hire master's students. So 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago now, when I was looking for my first job, the Aerospace Corporation really was only looking to hire master's degrees and PhDs. That's no longer the case. They hire quite a few students with bachelor's degrees, but at that point in time, they really were looking for at least a master's degree. And so it was a pretty, between having half of it paid for by the university and the fact that some institutions like Aerospace and JPL really were pushing for it. I'll be quite honest, I also had friends who were working in industry, and their company had basically immediately sent them to get their master's degree, and so they were working full-time and going to school part-time, and I think they hated their lives. And so for me, it was like, I'll just stay in school and continue to be a student and work part-time and not have that additional stress.
So for me, going through undergrad, basically towards the end I realized like I really do like learning and problem solving and just homework, not exams, but I do like homework. And I knew from like even high school that I wanted my master's degree, at least master's. I knew like PhD's a little too far, but both my parents, my dad has a PhD and my mom has a master's in engineering, so I kind of had that expectation for myself that if my parents have this higher education, like I should as well. And then getting closer to graduation, I started thinking about it some more, but I had the full-time offer, and I knew from my like peers that were junior engineers, they were all at the UCLA online program getting their masters. So just as an intern, just being surrounded by that environment, we had like 15 people on the team who were all like around 25 years old, getting their masters at UCLA, taking the same classes, and I was like, this is awesome. Even if it's an online program, like I could have some form of community just at work, like within my team. So as soon as I started full-time, I'd already like sent in the application a day after graduation at USC. And so when I took 3 months off to just enjoy my last summer. And then I started in August 2016 at Northrop, and like first week of September I started at UCLA. And it was, the hardest decision was the fact that I was choosing UCLA. But, and like my entire team is just a bunch of Bruins, and they give me so much crap about it. Like they'd respect me more if I got my master's at USC, honestly. They think I'm a traitor, and I think I don't feel like I'm a traitor, but there was a reason that I went to UCLA. I wanted to see what an education from UCLA would be like. It was a lot quicker. They're a quarter school, so I could take more classes in the year. Same number of classes, 9 classes for a master's at USC or 9 classes at UCLA. Would have taken like 2 to 3 years at USC. It took less than a year and a half through UCLA. And then also just because everyone in my on my team had done it at UCLA, so I had all of their like past exams, and we have this whole e-room that they created, and I had like past homework and lectures. So it was honestly not. I was working full time, and the master's was part time. I never had to go to campus just for exams if I wanted to, or I could get them proctored. So it was an easy time, and I got it done. So that was a nice route too, because the classes I was taking were directly hand in hand. I would literally learn something in my lecture, in my online lecture, and then the next day my teammates would like use that term, whether it were a specific systems engineering document or like some channel coding from my channel coding class. And then one of my favorite classes that was kind of like a slap in the face at UCLA, they spent like probably a month talking about the Viterbi algorithm. And I will really quickly share this story, but I've been going to the Viterbi Awards for a couple years now. I think I'm into 4 or 5. And 2 years ago, I think, was the 50th anniversary of the Viterbi algorithm, and Andrew Viterbi was at the Viterbi Awards. And that quarter, I had just started that class about his algorithm, like maybe 2-3 weeks before. So not only was I like starstruck looking at him, but I didn't sound like an idiot just going up being like, you're awesome, like this is so cool. I could actually talk to him about his algorithm, and that was really rewarding. So yeah, it was nice. So different from what Rachel did, but it was nice to have the work experience and to go hand in hand, like at the same time.
And not to take too much more time because I know.
Yeah, sorry, that was a little long.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, I decided to do the master's because I had no plans to ever do a master's, and then I'd gotten to I was approaching the end of the engineering degree, and I said, like, well, that's it. Like, I feel like I just peeked into a door with like a lot of like rainbows and unicorns, and then somebody was like, oh, you gotta go now. I'm like, no. Like, I want to learn a little bit more because there's so much to learn. And so it was also kind of just a pausing mechanism from getting a job, so that was also nice. And so yeah, it was kind of just the curiosity of learning so much about electrical engineering. Electrical engineering is such a broad field. I mean, even if you stopped in an undergrad, you probably learned more than 90% of the people at USC. And so, you know, and adding the master's, like now it's just like you really get to learn about something in more depth. It's not like a PhD, but that's actually kind of the nice thing is that you get to stop after a year or 2 years, and you feel like you really learned something usable, and you know, as soon as you get into the workplace, kind of like Jasmine was talking about, you can speak the language, because I feel like I probably would have eventually learned the stuff in the master's at work, but having the master's, like, a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have been familiar with, you know, just without it, just kind of, I have experience at least seeing it. Like, it's not a totally foreign language. A lot of the engineering terms that we work with every day.
Okay, well, I hate to end our time, but we are a little bit past 8, so I just want us to thank our panelists for being here. And hopefully this was a helpful time for you to learn more about just different industries or career options within EE. I am going to ask if you guys can stay a little bit, like if you can, for about 10-15 minutes. They'll stick around to, yeah, you guys can talk with them one-on-one if you'd like to hang out a bit. There's also plenty of pizza in the back, so please feel free to take some home. Thanks again for being here tonight, and hope you have a good evening.
Thanks for arranging it.